Fallout 76 is a game that launched with more controversy than content, but here we are in 2025 and the game is still going strong with a decent sized community. Bethesda has been steadily updating this game for years now, and the question I ask is Fallout 76 worth playing in 2025? Whether you're a returning Vault Dweller who has not played the game in a while or someone who wants to step out of Vault 76 for the first time, today we're going to be diving into Fallout 76 and discussing whether or not the game is any better than it was at launch and whether or not it's worth playing. So it's impossible to talk about Fallout 76 without acknowledging its disastrous launch in 2018 with no NPCs, countless bugs, glitches, the game breaking all the time, the game hardly playable, quests not even completable, a lot of them because they were glitched, and just a lack of meaningful content and stuff to do in the game, which left most Fallout fans pretty disappointed when the game launched. They promised a multiplayer Fallout experience, but it just felt hollow, and I mean, what's the point of playing a Fallout game with friends if the game doesn't really give you a Fallout experience? I mean, Fallout's known for its world building, its characters, its stories, and Fallout 76 just didn't really have any of that. I mean, it had a really good map, don't get me wrong. I think this is the best. I think Appalachia is the best map in any Fallout game, period. I think it's just a really good map. It's very interesting. New Vegas takes a close second, but I really like this map. I think it's done well. I think that's the best thing that the game had going for it at launch. But with all that said, Bethesda didn't abandon the sinking ship. Over the years, Fallout 76 has seen a steady stream of updates that have completely transformed the game from what it used to be. The Wastelanders update in 2020 reintroduced NPCs into the world, breathing life into Appalachia. The Wastelanders update also brought back a lot of players, as well as bringing a load of new players into the game. It was also the update that brought me into the game, which I'm not really sure why I didn't get it when it launched, as I remember being excited for the game, and I also pre-ordered Fallout 4 back in 2015, so I was really pumped and excited to play Fallout 76 with some friends and have a multiplayer Fallout experience. So I'm not sure why I never pre-ordered the game or got it at launch. I mean, well, I know why I didn't get it after it launched, because it was just a disaster, and I was like, why would I get that? But I'm not sure why I never pre-ordered it, because I was really excited for the game. Later down the line, Brotherhood of Steel got introduced into Fallout 76 with the Steel Dawn and Steel Rain updates, which expanded the Brotherhood of Steel storyline, which people said it breaks the lore, and there's a bunch of debates about it, and people argue whether or not they should even be in the game, but that's besides the point. That's not the point of this video. We're not going to talk about all those details, but I know some people don't like it, some people are okay with it. I guess it does break the lore, but we're not going to go into all that. The Pit update then released, which took players outside of the main map for the first time, introducing a thing called expeditions, where you would return to the same location from Fallout 3 called the Pit, which was exciting when they were announcing it, but it basically boiled down to two missions that you could do, which were called expeditions, which were cool, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as in-depth or as expansive as some were hoping for. And when they first announced it, I know I, for one, thought it was going to be much bigger, and it was going to be like this bigger map where you had stories and quests to do, but that's not how the Pit turned out. Later on, they also added another expedition after the Pit called Atlantic City, which is much better than the Pit in my opinion, and Atlantic City expeditions actually have more of a storyline, and there's actually I don't know if it's to unlock Atlantic City. I actually forgot because I did it so long ago, but there's just a way bigger story that's set in Atlantic City, and you can actually visit Atlantic City and like you're doing story quests and going to different areas. It's much more like how I thought the Pit would be. It's still not exactly the same because it's not like one way bigger map, but it's more open and more story stuff to it, which is nice. These updates didn't only just add some content to play through, but they also built the world a bit more and added some more characters and story with it. So what's the state of Fallout 76 in 2025, you might ask? The game has continued to evolve with new features and content, keeping the experience fresh for both veterans and newcomers. Just recently, they added some new endgame content, and to be honest, Fallout 76's biggest problem is endgame content, in my opinion. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff to do, but then once you hit the later levels, like, I don't know, maybe 300 or something, there starts to be a lot less stuff to do because you kind of did everything. I just feel like there's a lack of endgame, like pure endgame content, like content that you just can't do until you're like really high level. And I know that's actually a debate in the Fallout 76 community. Apparently, I didn't know that until recently, but people are debating based because these raids that just released, you got to be kind of high level to complete it. You can't just be like level 25 or 50 or something and just go in there and do really well at the raids. But people are debating whether or not that's a good thing or not. I personally think it's a good thing because I think there needs to be some sort of gatekeeping. I know people don't like that. Some people in the community at least don't like that. But I think there needs to be some sort of gatekeeping where there's something that level 200 and 300 players can do, but level 45s, 25s, 50s can't do. I mean, there's got to be something, right? Because it's got to feel more meaningful as you level up, and you got to get better stuff, and you just got to access some content that lower level players can't. Why I'm bringing this up is because right now in Fallout 76 there really isn't much gatekeeping, because you could be brand new out of the vault, though you do need to level up to get strong enough to be able to do some things on your own, sure, but it's not like you're really restricted, because you can always play with your friends, and no matter what level you are, you can do all the content, which is nice. I kind of like that, but at the same time, I feel like there should just be some content for like higher levels that higher levels can do that lower levels can't do, and you need to unlock certain things. I feel like that just makes it more meaningful as you're leveling up, because if you don't unlock anything the higher level you get, well, what's the point of leveling up and trying to get a higher level? The Gleaming Depths is what the new raid is called, and it tries to push players to strategize and work together, and the raid offers some of the best rewards in the game, like 4-star legendaries, so you can unlock 4-star legendary effects to put on your gear, though you will have to do the raid a lot of times to probably get the legendary effects that you want. I mean, I did the raid like 20 times so far, which is not a whole lot, but I did it like 20 times and I didn't get a single legendary effect that I was trying to get, so that's something. There are 5 stages to the Gleaming Depths raid. The first stage is a robot called EN06 or EN06, which is similar to a sentry bot, but it's just kind of like a turret form, and he shoots lasers and missiles at you. He also has a shield that you gotta deplete, and you gotta deplete the shield first before you can hurt him, and he has some extra lasers that pop up as his health depletes, and you'll have to also take shelter once the room is about to get engulfed in flames or explode, whichever it is, and depending on your build, it could be slightly easy or a bit more difficult, or you could just use some power armor and auto axe and cheese the whole thing and not really fight them, but that's besides the point. The second stage is more of a defense and gather. At least one person will have to stay and guard the giant drill from mole miners and mole rats, as the rest of the players run into the mine to play like a Dead by Daylight kind of thing, where you're going into these mines and there's these I don't know why, it just reminds me of Dead by Daylight. It's actually kind of not like Dead by Daylight, but there's tunnels and there's fuel in the tunnels, and you have to go collect the fuel and then put it in the drill. But there's these mole miners that are glowing green, and if they touch you, you're just instantly dead. So you have to just grab all the fuel, navigate the tunnels while trying not to get touched by the giant green mole miners. The third stage is a kind of, you're fighting 3 bosses, where you have 3 bosses that are invulnerable until you take out the generators. So there's also 3 generators, and you have to destroy all the generators, and the shield will get disabled on all the 3 They're in power armor. It's 3 whatever they are in power armor, and you have to destroy them, but you have to destroy the shields first. And repair bots will try to repair the generators, so you have to stop the repair bots from repairing the generators, and then just destroy the bosses. They're really not that hard to kill. It's just more annoying because you have to make sure their shields are down and the repair bots don't repair the shields, but they're pretty easy to kill. You just got to keep the shields down. The 4th stage is a bit more tricky. I mean, it's pretty easy, but this stage, if you're in a random team, can sometimes get difficult because you can't directly deal damage to the enemies in this stage. Instead, you have to get them close to an ultracite crystal, and then you have to destroy the crystal when the enemies are near it to take out the enemies. This is one that I see just becomes difficult with random teammates, as I've seen people waste the crystals. Like, people in my team that I join, it's a random team. I just hop in there, and then some people, they just start shooting all the crystals when there's either no enemies near them or there's like one enemy and they still just shoot the crystal. You got to be more thoughtful when you're shooting the crystals. Please don't waste the crystals, because they don't regrow or something. You can't destroy them again. So you have a limited number of crystals, and you got to gather enemies around the crystals and then break the crystal as they're around it. It's pretty simple, but if you're in a random team, sometimes it can be a bit difficult. The 5th and final stage of the raid is probably the hardest stage, where you have to fight the Serpent, or the Ultracite Terror, whichever one you want to call it. It's just a giant snake, and you have to fight it on an island surrounded by liquid ultracite, or whatever it is. I think it's liquid ultracite, and if you touch it, you will instantly die. So don't touch the green liquid. Attack the snake. The snake has attacks that will try to push you off the island as well, so you got to be careful of that. And it also shoots out a lot of poison attacks, so poison resistance is almost a necessity if you want to survive. In my opinion, it's probably the coolest boss in the game, and also the most difficult boss fight in the game. Of course, because this is Fallout 76, there's a way to pretty much cheese every single thing in this game, so you can complete the boss fights in the raid really quickly. If you cheese it, you can destroy the robot in like 30 seconds. You can destroy the snake in 30 seconds. You can always do that, but it is fun just to have like a normal fight in a squad where you're just dodging some attacks and fighting the boss. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done my fair share of cheesing and doing glitches and stuff, and there's nothing really wrong with that, but I just find that doing that a lot just makes the game more boring, and it just, like, it's the newest content, it's the bosses and stuff, the newest raid, and I feel like just cheesing it right now. I mean, cheesing it to farm it is, I guess, alright, but I feel like if you just cheese it too much, you'll just get bored of it quicker, and then it just won't be as fun. And I'm sure there's another word besides cheese that I could use, but I just can't think of it right now. And I've said cheese already so much in my video that someone's gonna leave a comment down below, and they're gonna be like, "Wow, count how many times he said cheese in this video," or something like that. I already know that's about to happen. There's also like seasonal events, like the aliens that return every once in a while. You got Meat Week that returns once every year. You got what is it, Fast Snatch Day, or however you say it, and stuff like that, and those updates change throughout the year. And they also introduce new events, and there's also new season passes every once in a while with different rewards, weekly challenges, and dailies. The camp system has also expanded, adding a bunch of new options, new building options, decor pieces, and all that. And there's also things that you can place in your camp that give you different resources, which are pretty useful. But it's unfortunate that some of those things in the resource category that give you different resources, like certain types of food or just like some free junk or something, some of them are locked behind the Atom Shop, which I think is pretty stupid. And depending on how long you've been away from the game, or if you've even played Fallout 76 before, you can also build shelters, and they're kind of cool. Some of them are bunkers, some of them are just like They're all called shelters, which they started as bunkers, but now they're like other worlds, I guess you could call them. They're like a wasteland, a forest here, like a lake or something, like Sanctuary from Fallout 4 as a little shelter that you can go in, or just a desert, something like that. They're all called shelters though, which is kind of weird, and also they're cool, but some of them have some weird building restrictions. Like there's one that's like Sanctuary from Fallout 4, and it's like you got the whole road just like Fallout 4, you know what I'm talking about? The road like turns and then it goes into a loop, a circle loop. But that whole area isn't buildable. It's like half of it's buildable and half of it's not. So it's like, why even build in it if half of it's restricted and you can't use the whole space? It's kind of dumb. I had to refund that one because I got it and I was so excited. I started building, and then all of a sudden there's invisible walls, and I was like, "What? I can't even build in the whole space. Why did I get this?" Either way, some of them are pretty cool and some of them are just straight garbage. One thing that is cool is you can place a shelter in a shelter, so you can just like keep on going, and each shelter has its own build limit, which is pretty cool. But one annoying thing about that is each shelter that you place will have its own loading screen. So it's like loading screen after loading screen after loading screen. If you're going deeper and deeper in your shelters, you could get up to like 15 different loading screens just to navigate around your shelters. And also you can't place like resource gatherers in your shelters, which is kind of annoying because sometimes you want to build your whole base in a shelter, but then you can't, because anything that's in the resources category, you can't place any of those things in your shelter. Fallout 76 also like has a really good community. I mean, way better than I thought it would actually ever be. That might sound bad when I say that, but usually, I don't know, I'm just expecting a toxic community, but Fallout 76 just is not very toxic. I mean, there's a toxic part of the community, but they're pretty small, and from what I've seen, Fallout 76 just has a really nice community that's willing to cooperate and help people and help new players, and it's really awesome. There's also a big trading community, and you can have vendors at your camp and sell things to other players and trade, which I buy a lot of things from other players' camp, and people seem to buy a lot of stuff from my camp, so it's definitely active, and it's just a fun little thing in the game. And I don't know, just the community of this game is just pretty awesome. I've yet to run into many people that just spoil the community and give the community a bad name in this game, because everyone I run into is just really awesome. There's also like donation boxes at each vendor, and there's also one outside of Vault 76 for like brand new players, that players can put stuff in that donation box, and anyone in the server can take stuff from that box. And I've seen plenty of times where the box just outside of Fallout 76 is just filled with stuff like plans or some ammo or something. People are just very generous and helpful in this game. And if you're new to Fallout 76, the game does a decent job of easing you in. The main quest line is now packed with NPCs, dialogue choices, and a story that ties into the larger Fallout universe. However, the game early on can feel maybe overwhelming for some, with so many different merchants and systems and currencies, but if you stick with it, you'll find a rewarding experience. I mean, there's a lot of negatives about this game. Like, the game always has a ton of bugs still to this day. There's just a ton of bugs in the game. Glitches are bound to happen. There's some server issues. There's some AI navigation issues sometimes. Ammo storage box and scrap storage box are locked behind Fallout First subscription, which I also think is a negative and something that maybe they should change and give something else for the Fallout First subscription along with some add-ons, because I feel like the ammo storage box and scrap storage box I feel like just everyone should have that. But it also has a massive, ever-evolving open world, which will soon get another map expansion, which will be pretty cool. It has a bunch of storylines, a bunch of NPCs, a bunch of dialogue choices, a lot of customization for your character, your outfit, your camps. You can build all sorts of different camps. In fact, I spent countless and countless hours just making camps because making a base is just so much fun in this game, and there's a lot of options. And sometimes I just enter the game to make a new base, just scrap my current base, make a new base, just because it's just fun to make bases. Like, I'm actually just impressed with some of the bases that I see people build in this game, because it's just really creative and just really awesome. But one thing about the base building is sometimes you go to place something and you should be able to place it, but you can't place it. The game won't let you place it. But then there's some times where you should not be able to place things, but then it places it anyway. So maybe they gotta fix where you can place things, because it just doesn't make sense all the time. I mean, I think personally, if it's in your base, you should be able to place it wherever you want, even if it's in a rock or something, which I guess they would have to fix, like you going outside of the map, because that's also a thing. People build bases under the map and stuff. But I feel like if you're placing a decoration and you want the bottom part of it to be in the ground, you should just be able to place half of it in the ground. That's just an example, by the way. So with all that said though, is Fallout 76 worth playing in 2025? And I think the answer depends on what you're looking for. If you want a solo Fallout experience, the game now offers a story-driven adventure, and you can play by yourself. You don't have to engage with other people if you don't want to, but I feel like if you want to play solo, you can play solo, and eventually you'll have fun playing with other people in events and other things like that. But you can do all the main stuff by yourself if you want to. You can even go to a private world if you get a Fallout First subscription. I know a lot of people don't like that, but you can do that, and you can do events and all that stuff by yourself if you really want to. But I find if you start playing it solo, you'll actually start to like to play with some other people if you don't like to play with other people for some reason. If you're looking for multiplayer fun, this game has a ton of it. You can do events, raids, community activities. Just there's plenty of opportunities for cooperation, and it's not without its flaws. I mean, Fallout 76 has come a long way since launch, and it's clear that Bethesda is committed to keeping the game alive and thriving for years to come with new updates, new events, and new content and all that. But I feel like whether you want to play by yourself, or you want to play with friends, or you want to find some people in the game to just play with and make a team, there's so many different ways you can play this game. You're not restricted. You can play it how you want. Basically, how I would describe Fallout 76 is the most casual MMO experience that you could possibly get. And I feel like that's why I like playing this game. It's an MMO. It's fun. It's Fallout also. I really like the Fallout franchise, and it's just very casual and has a good community, and I feel like that's why I keep coming back to it. Honestly, 2025 might just be the best time to jump into Fallout 76. The game is going to be getting a ton of big updates in 2025. One of the biggest updates I feel like is you'll be able to play as a ghoul for the first time in the franchise, at least without mods, that is. Without mods, you can play as a ghoul. So I'm sure there's some mods for like the previous games you can play as a ghoul. I actually don't know if there is, but I feel like there would be. But you can become a ghoul in Fallout 76 soon, and it will have its own upsides and negatives, along with special perk cards and its own abilities. Like, you can be a glowing ghoul. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you're gonna be able to be a ghoul, which is kind of cool. But anyways, this video is getting quite long, so we're gonna end it here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment below, tell me what you think about Fallout 76 and this video, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you want to be subscribed, and I'll see you next time.